The woman is deeply obsessed with her neighbor's husband to the point where she often spies on him while he is swimming. She even keeps a photo of the two of them together and kisses it with affection. For more than a decade she has been obsessed with this man, and after getting divorced she deliberately buys the house next door, just so she can be close to him. When they invite her over for dinner she purposely wears revealing clothes hoping to catch his attention, but the man does not even glance at her. Still, she keeps watching him from a distance even when he is being intimate with his wife. Seeing them together makes her furious and jealous, so she decides to get rid of the woman standing between her and the man she loves while destroying their marriage at the same time. This is she's obsessed with my husband. But before her cruel and twisted plan begins, we see Violet staring at an old photo. In that photo, a younger Violet is smiling happily with her high school boyfriend, Garrett. Even after many years since graduation, Violet is still in love with Garrett, even though she is now married to a wealthy man named Mason. Mason already knows that his wife is still obsessed with her ex-boyfriend. He tries to remind Violet that they have been married for 15 years. At first Mason tries to be patient with her, but eventually his patience reaches its limit and the two of them get into a heated argument. And it is not just Violet's obsession with Garrett that is disturbing. She also has a violent side because she does not hesitate to hit Mason or even choke him. The scene then shifts to Garrett, who is now married to Daisy. They also have a teenage daughter named Allison. Allison is passionate about design, and one day she receives a notification saying she has been placed on the waiting list at a prestigious design school in Paris. Allison is overjoyed by the news and immediately tells her parents. Daisy is just as happy for her daughter, but Garrett does not seem as excited. It turns out Garrett is worried about their financial situation. He believes they may not be able to afford Allison's design school in Paris. The next day, Garrett has just finished jogging when he runs into Violet, who has just moved into the house next door. Violet pretends to be surprised to see him, even though in reality she moved there on purpose so she could be close to Garrett. At the same time Daisy arrives, and it is revealed that Daisy also went to school with him. Daisy does not seem to like Violet very much, especially because Violet and Garrett used to date back in high school. She becomes even more uneasy when Violet reveals that she is now divorced from her husband. However, Violet tells them that she is currently close to a man named Pro, and shows them his photo. After hearing that, Daisy's attitude softens a little, and she even invites Violet to have dinner at their house. Violet tries to act friendly by asking Garrett and Daisy to take a photo together. But once she gets back inside her house she becomes visibly annoyed after seeing how affectionate they are. Violet even cuts Daisy out of the photo, leaving only herself and Garrett so she can display it as if they are a couple. That night, Violet shows up for dinner wearing something deliberately revealing, clearly trying to catch Garrett's attention. She also brings a pie claiming that she made it herself. When Violet mentions her strong interest in fashion design, Allison immediately lights up realizing they share the same passion. Excited, Allison shows some of her work and surprisingly Violet asks her to create a custom design. She even offers to pay for it. Even though Violet seems genuinely enthusiastic, Daisy and Garrett are not entirely comfortable with her involvement. Still, they do not want to disappoint their daughter, so they allow Violet to help Allison. Not long after, Daisy and Allison try the pie and praise it saying it tastes amazing. Hearing that, Violet offers to teach Daisy how to make it, suggesting that Daisy could serve it to her family and even her boss. Before leaving, Violet says goodbye to everyone, but she only hugs Garrett. As she holds him, she imagines the two of them being intimate, and that moment only deepens her obsession. Back at her house, Violet watches Garrett and Daisy from a distance, as they share a warm moment together. Frustrated and jealous, she heads to the kitchen and begins putting together a plan. This time her target is Daisy's boss, and she prepares to tamper with the pie mixture. The next morning, Violet is once again spying on Garrett while he swims. She spends the entire morning watching him from afar. Soon after, she visits Daisy who is busy working. Daisy invites her into her workspace where Violet notices a document labeled with passwords. After Daisy finishes her work they head to the kitchen, but Violet claims she left her bag in the workspace and offers to get it herself. In reality, she takes the opportunity to copy all the sensitive information from the document. Later, the two of them sit down with coffee and reminisce about their school days. Violet asks Daisy about her past relationships, But Daisy reveals that she has never dated anyone other than Garrett. Then Daisy asks why Violet and Garrett broke up. In Violet's mind, she suddenly lashes out and chokes Daisy, screaming that they never broke up with him and blaming her for ruining their relationship. But that violent reaction exists only in her imagination. In reality, she remains calm and simply says she cannot remember why they broke up. At one point, Daisy steps away to grab something, and in that brief moment, Violet secretly injects something into the pie that is meant for Daisy's boss. Soon after, Violet meets Oliver, a former convict who was once involved in theft. It is clear they already know each other. Violet asks for his help and gives him an advanced payment. At first, Oliver hesitates, not wanting to risk going back to prison, but Violet convinces him that their plan will not be discovered, and eventually he agrees. The following day, Allison visits Violet to show her latest design, and even offers it for free in exchange for help improving her appearance. Instead of accepting the free offer, Violet insists on paying and happily offers to help Allison get ready for her first fashion show. Allison quickly agrees and hugs her, completely trusting her. Meanwhile, Violet quietly believes that she will soon become the perfect stepmother in Allison's life. On the other side, Garrett tells Daisy that his boss has reduced his working hours, which means their income will drop as well. Right in that moment, Daisy receives a phone call from an investment company offering financial advice for the future. At first, Daisy is not interested, but when they claim the investment could double in just 6 months, she starts to consider it, especially when they bring up the idea of securing her daughter's education fund. What Daisy does not realize is that this so-called investment company is nothing more than a scam created by Violet and Oliver. Not long after, Daisy meets her boss Claudia at a cafe. During that meeting, Claudia shares some great news. Daisy has just been promoted to head editor. Daisy is thrilled, and luckily she has brought the pie she made especially for her boss. Claudia decides to try it right there, but after a few bites she suddenly feels extremely nauseous and starts vomiting. Panicked, Daisy quickly rushes her to the hospital. Once she gets home, Daisy immediately confronts Violet about the pie, but Violet calmly suggests that Claudia might have had an allergic reaction, pointing out that neither Daisy nor Garrett had any problems after eating it. Hearing that, Daisy begins to doubt herself. She assumes it really was an allergy and ends up apologizing to Violet for accusing her. The next day, Daisy meets Oliver, who is now pretending to be a financial advisor. They begin discussing an investment plan for Allison's future education. At the same time, Garrett happens to run into Violet, and they decide to sit down for coffee. During that meeting, Garrett apologizes for suddenly ending their relationship in the past. Violet acts like she has moved on, even though deep inside her obsession with Garrett is still very much alive. She continues to blame Daisy, believing Daisy stole Garrett from her even though Garrett simply chose to follow his own heart. Garrett thinks he has cleared up any misunderstanding and leaves, unaware that Violet is growing even more frustrated after realizing how much he truly loves Daisy. Not long after, Daisy is shocked when Gina shows up and accuses her of trying to kill Claudia by poisoning the pie. Gina does not just blame Daisy, she also fires her from the publishing company. Later that afternoon, Daisy meets Oliver again at a cafe to discuss the investment plan for Allison's future. She is still unsure, but Oliver keeps persuading her until she finally agrees. At that same moment, Garrett suddenly arrives. He is clearly upset when he sees Daisy meeting a financial advisor and planning to invest without telling him. This quickly turns into an argument between them. Meanwhile, Violet is secretly listening to everything through Oliver, and she cannot hide her satisfaction. Her plan is starting to fall into place. That night, Violet quietly sabotages Daisy's car, but when she returns home she is confronted by Oliver, who now demands more money. He even threatens to expose everything Violet has done to destroy Garrett and Daisy's marriage, if she does not give him $100,000 within 2 days. The next morning, Allison secretly visits Violet since Violet had promised to help her get ready for her first fashion show. She keeps it a secret from her mother, which makes Daisy upset when she sees Allison leaving Violet's house already wearing makeup. Daisy confronts Violet, saying she should have been informed about helping her daughter. After Daisy leaves, Violet quickly goes back into her house and logs into Daisy's online banking account. Since she already stole all the passwords, she has no trouble accessing it. She then transfers all the money from Daisy's account into the fake investment company she runs with Oliver. At the same time, Daisy is on her way to Allison's school for the fashion show, but her car suddenly breaks down. She immediately calls Allison through video. Allison feels a bit disappointed that her mother is late, but at that moment Violet steps in and comforts her. Seeing how close Violet has become with her daughter makes Daisy feel both angry and jealous. When Daisy finally gets home, her frustration only grows. She sees Garrett and Allison casually spending time with Violet, talking about the fashion show while enjoying cookies she made as if nothing is wrong. Daisy tries to apologize to Allison, but instead Allison turns against her and even compares her to Violet, who made the effort to attend the show. This leads to another argument between mother and daughter. The tension becomes so uncomfortable that Violet decides to leave, but instead of calming his wife, Garrett runs after Violet and hugs her, not realizing that Daisy sees everything. At that moment, Daisy's anger and jealousy explode as she feels completely shut out by both her husband and her daughter while she is struggling with so many problems. Later that night, Daisy receives a notification that Allison's entire education fund has been transferred to the investment company. The problem is she never made that transaction. Garrett is furious and demands an explanation, but Daisy insists she had nothing to do with it. She tries to contact Oliver, but his phone is unreachable and the company's number does not even exist. As Garrett and Daisy fall into another heated argument, Violet watches them from a distance with a satisfied smile, knowing her plan is almost complete. Unbeknownst to them, Allison overhears everything. She is heartbroken after realizing that the money her parents saved for her future is gone. The next day, Violet visits Daisy and offers her a cup of coffee. She acts apologetic and, using her persuasive and manipulative nature, convinces Daisy to let her inside. What Daisy does not realize is that Violet secretly mixes a sedative into her drink. Not long after, Daisy collapses and loses consciousness. At the same time, Oliver arrives at Violet's house only to find a note telling him to meet her at Daisy's place. When Oliver enters the house, he finds Daisy lying unconscious and tries to help her, but suddenly Violet appears and stabs him to death. Then she places the knife in Daisy's hand, setting her up for the crime. Just as Violet is about to leave, Allison unexpectedly comes home early from school. Violet quickly hides to avoid being seen. Allison is shocked when she finds her mother and Oliver lying unconscious, and she immediately calls the police. Not long after, the police arrive and begin questioning Daisy. Daisy insists that she does not remember anything. She explains that she suddenly lost consciousness, but she does admit that she knows Oliver as a financial advisor from an investment company. Daisy then accuses Violet of putting something in her drink, but Violet denies everything, especially since there is no evidence of any substance at the scene. With Daisy's fingerprints found on the knife used to kill Oliver, she is officially named a suspect and taken into custody. After Daisy is sent to prison, Violet becomes even more involved in Garrett and Allison's lives. She pretends to care for them, cooking meals every day and offering comfort, hoping to replace Daisy as both a wife and a mother. Meanwhile, Garrett and Allison continue to support Daisy. They believe she is innocent and are determined to uncover the truth behind Oliver's death. Allison starts gathering information from neighbors and slowly begins to suspect Violet. Her suspicion grows stronger when she discovers that Violet lied about Pro, who turns out to be a model already married to someone else. Allison quickly tells her father, suggesting that Violet may have been lying about many things all along. But Garrett does not take it too seriously, thinking that one lie does not necessarily prove everything else is false. The next day, after Violet leaves her house, Allison secretly sneaks inside to look for information about Violet's past. There she finds a business card from the fake investment company, which could link Violet to Oliver's death. She almost gets caught when Violet suddenly returns, but manages to slip away just in time. After that, Allison goes to meet Mason, who reveals the truth. He explains that Oliver once scammed him and ended up in prison. This confirms Allison's suspicion that Violet hired Oliver to deceive her mother. Mason also shares that Violet has been obsessed with Garrett since high school. He once hoped that Violet would eventually love him back, which is why he married her. But her obsession only grew worse over time. She became violent, abusive, and even tried to kill him. That was when Mason realized how dangerous she was, leading him to divorce her and cut her out of his life completely. At the same time, Violet makes her move, trying to seduce Garrett while he is alone at home. Meanwhile, Allison calls Garrett and tells him everything she has discovered. Once he learns the truth, Garrett confronts Violet about all the crimes she has committed out of her obsession with him. Violet tries to justify her actions, believing it is all driven by love, but Garrett refuses to accept it and prepares to call the police. In a sudden burst of rage, Violet attacks him, striking him repeatedly until he collapses unconscious, screaming, "Not anymore. I loved you my entire life, you monster." As she sees Garrett lying there helpless, Violet is suddenly overwhelmed with guilt, realizing she has hurt the man she claims to love. Not long after, Allison arrives and is shocked to find her father unconscious. She immediately confronts Violet, but instead of backing down, Violet suddenly tries to stab her. Allison quickly runs out of the house trying to escape. Outside, she attempts to fight back, but Violet overpowers her and corners her, determined to finish it. Allison cries out for help, and at that exact moment, Garrett regains consciousness and rushes out to save his daughter. A struggle breaks out between Garrett and Violet. In the chaos, Allison manages to get back on her feet and strikes Violet, knocking her unconscious and finally stopping her. Sometime later, Daisy is cleared of all murder charges and returns home, where she is welcomed back with a warm embrace from her husband and daughter. As things begin to settle, Allison shares some good news. She has received a full scholarship to her dream design school in Paris, removing the financial burden from her parents. As for Violet, she is finally sent to prison for all the crimes she committed. But even behind bars, she shows no sign of regret. Her obsession with Garrett remains as she continues to hold on to their photo, unable to let go. So the moral of the story is, if your neighbor starts baking pies, offering fashion advice, and suddenly cares about your whole family, maybe don't give them your Wi-Fi password, your trust, and your entire life savings all at once. Like and subscribe to Movie 2 Clips for more best videos.